Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the series Planets in 2024. Today, I have my very good friend Caitriona from Caitriona Astro, and we're going to talk about Jupiter. My name is Jasmine. I'm from Jasmine Brunswick Astrology. For everybody who is new on my channel, welcome. This is going to be so exciting. I chose Jupiter first because I think he's the main character of this year, not next year. Excuse me, we already in this year. Thank you, Caitriona, for coming for this. This is so cool. Thank you so much. I know you're busy, and we do so many things in our lives. Before we start about Jupiter, tell us a few things about yourself. What are you doing? What is your practice? Where can people find you and everything, please?
Hi, Jasmina. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. My name is Caitriona, and I'm based in Ireland, the southwest of Ireland. And I have been practicing astrology for a long time, practicing professionally only since 2023. I'm very busy at the moment with birth charts and readings, and my passion is for teaching astrology. And you can find me mainly on Instagram. I'm most active there at Caitriona Astro. I'm also active on TikTok at Caitriona Astro. I launched my website there right before December, which was a very happy time for me. And yeah, I'm also starting YouTube now as well,
That's
with
perfect. I
Jasmina's
know.
encouragement.
Yes, YouTube is awesome. I think audiences here is great. Um, and we have first highs. Thank you, Kiara, sending you love. Nice to see you. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. I know it's early for somebody, but it's all good. I was trying to do Instagram live at the same time, to be honest, but something is not working. I'll figure it out for next time. Next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So before we start to talk about Jupiter this year, uh, tell us, what is Jupiter about? So what does this planet represent? What kind of energies are we dealing with when we talk about Jupiter? What is,
Yeah,
you know,
well, I was delighted you asked me to talk about Jupiter because I am Jupiterian. I am a Sagittarius rising. Jupiter is my chart ruler. I'm
yes.
very fortunate and feel very blessed to have Jupiter as my chart ruler. And my Jupiter is in Pisces too. So, I am extremely lucky to have such a strong
Mm,
Jupiter. Jupiter really, I associate Jupiter with Zeus. I associate Jupiter with elevation, with expansion, with opportunity, with wisdom, with prosperity, with good luck, with abundance. But I also, even though I am Jupiterian, I have a very strong Saturn in my chart too. So I look at Jupiter through that lens also, that, too much of a good thing can be bad for us, and moderation is really important. And to be Jupiterian is not just to be someone who is, positive all the time, because there is a huge danger of being toxically positive when we approach Jupiter. We need to always practice moderation. And I guess thanks to my Libra midheaven, I try to practice a bit of moderation when it comes to Jupiter, not to go to extremes, because Jupiter also rules extremes. And this is something we need to watch for with Jupiter.
yeah, I always think that we need a little bit of Saturn. I'm thinking about Jupiter. Somebody said this analogy. I think it's really cool. When you blow a balloon, this is Jupiter blowing, but then at some point it pops. So you need a little bit of Saturn, as you said, to keep it in
100%.
boundaries. Otherwise, it goes over proportions, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so true. So the planets should work together in harmony. So when we look at Jupiter, yes, it is the great benefic, but we need to also remember how powerful good things can be when we do them to excess. That's always important to bear in
Yeah.
mind, which,
Yeah, I always feel that Jupiter can also overpromise. So you people, and you get excited, and then you kind of feel disappointed. But from practice in my life, and just from my experience, and from people that I talk to and clients, everybody, Jupiter can actually be more of a protector than actually delivering. So think about, he's protecting you for some harm. So you actually have a beneficial effect of Jupiter, but you're not aware of it sometimes. That's what I feel. Like
yeah, I think Jupiter can definitely signify divine protection, as well in your birth chart, where you
so
were guided and protected.
Yeah, so even through transits, people say, "Oh, Jupiter went through this and then nothing happened." Well, you probably didn't lose anything, so think about it that way. I know it's hard for us to,
Yeah, and they often say Jupiter leaves a gift, like Saturn leaves a gift. When they leave your house, sometimes that's when you notice it. It's the benefit of hindsight. It's like zodiacal releasing, which I'm really deep into at the moment. Sometimes you look back and you think that event wasn't significant, but the benefit of hindsight, 10 years later, you realize, oh, wait, that was a really significant turning point in my life.
yeah, that's true. Uh, that's so. If you have guys have any questions on Jupiter in general, please let us know. But Jupiter, so as you mentioned, is ruling Pisces and Sagittarius, traditional ruler of Pisces, modern one is Neptune, and he's exalted in Cancer, right? I feel yes, because I have that. I think that's a good position for Jupiter. And he doesn't really like to be in Gemini. And why am I mentioning this? Because this year he's now in Taurus. He went direct on the 30th of December, and he's going to be there until May something, and May 24th, I think. And then he's going to move to Gemini. So what can we expect from? First, he's making some great aspects whilst he's still in Taurus. So, Katrina, tell us what, beside the Uranus Jupiter conjunctions that everybody's talking about on April 20th. I think Jupiter is doing good in Taurus until end of May.
Yeah, Jupiter in Taurus. So, like, when we think about Taurus, we think about all the things that Taurus rules, and
Hmm.
um, it's all about things of substance. It's material benefits. It's sensual things, the five senses, productivity, patience, food. This down to earth philosophy. These are things that we see. And with Jupiter in Taurus, some things I've noticed, personally, is that there is a resurgence in natural beauty. Stepping away from fake eyelashes, fake tan, implants, all those things, Brazilian butt lifts, everything. There is a resurgence in going back to slow living,
Hmm.
in getting back to the earth, living closer to the earth. People are rejecting the Pluto and Capricorn grind culture, this kind of rat race. People are saying, this isn't important, I want to get back to live like my ancestors lived. People are becoming more awareness of their bodies, and there's also less body shaming. I've noticed that women especially are sharing their bodies online, promoting body positivity. These are
Yeah,
all lovely things that I have noticed with Jupiter in Taurus. These are just, personal things I've noticed. Also, Audrey Hepburn, she had Jupiter in Taurus. And when you think about her, she's that classical natural beauty,
yeah, yeah.
and untainted, just so naturally gorgeous. Pablo Picasso, Jupiter and Taurus, so
Mhm.
creative, so gifted. And Jupiter and Taurus, if you think about the analogy of a vehicle, how Jupiter moves, when it's in Taurus, I almost think Jupiter, it's like it's in a tractor, like a farmer. The
Okay.
tractor can't go very fast, but it's very productive, and it's very down to earth, it's very practical. And we've noticed as well an increase in food prices since Jupiter ingressed into Taurus. The price of
Hmm.
food has gone up
Yes.
because people are remembering, what's truly valuable, tangible things like food. We
Mhm.
can't survive without food. So people are remembering the material benefits in life that we can't survive without, like food and money, things like that. Um, and then, when we consider Jupiter and Taurus, we also need to look at values, because Taurus is all about security and values. So, what are our values? Because these are being amplified at the moment by Jupiter and Taurus. It's questioning our values, and it's promoting our values, and it's getting us back to kind of down to earth, grounded values, and also values, maybe older values, more traditional values, I would say as well, with Jupiter in Taurus.
Yeah, and people forget Taurus is slow. So when Jupiter is in Taurus, you will not get the benefits now. It's very slow, a little bit. You won't get like
Yeah.
big boom. When he's in Sagittarius or
Yeah.
something. So you think about Taurus, slow energy, steady, but consistent. So Jupiter can give you some kind of uh, beneficials or rewards that are going to be for long term, but little pieces. Step by step, kind of a. thing,
Yeah, and a
right?
lot of people say things, I've heard people, astrologers, myself included, have said things like, oh, Jupiter is very overrated. But Jupiter at the moment is in Taurus. So, are we patient enough to wait
Mhm.
for the results? Because, when Jupiter leaves Taurus, something lovely is going to be left there for us, in that house in our birth chart where we have Jupiter in Taurus. And then if we consider, the ingress into Gemini, which is happening late May, isn't it, Jasmina? So Jupiter in Gemini, I've been using the analogy of a helicopter. So like all of a sudden, Jupiter has been in a tractor, and now Jupiter, the biggest planet in the zodiac system, gets into a helicopter. And what happens with a helicopter is that it's extremely noisy, number one.
I like
It's
that.
and not many people have a helicopter. It's extremely noisy. You have to stand back when the helicopter is taking off because things blow in every direction. So there's a little bit of chaos. So we can certainly expect some chaos, um, in the world in the sense that there's going to be a buzzy energy. The energy of Gemini, I always say, is the box of butterflies. So this butterfly box is going to be open. The butterflies are going to fly in every direction. Nobody knows where they're going to go. You're not going to attempt to try and catch these butterflies. But this is more fast, dangerous moving energy. And the energy will be more scattered, yes, because Jupiter is in exile in Gemini. So like it might be harder to concentrate. We might be talking more, we might be doing a lot more talking than actually taking action. Jupiter
Yes,
and Taurus is taking action.
yes.
Jupiter and Gemini is talking. So there'll be a huge amount of sharing of ideas. Um, there might be a lot of travel in the sense of short journeys,
Mhm.
going here and there, just busy energy. This is really good energy for selling, for marketing, for communicating, for Instagram
Mhm.
lives, for discussions, because this is, the energy of ideas, getting
Yes.
expanded. And of course, I had to look at people who had Jupiter and Gemini natally. And,
Uh-huh.
people say Jupiter is in exile in Gemini and that it's not a good placement. But Charles Dickens,
Mm-hmm. See?
arguably one of the greatest writers, had Jupiter and Gemini, gifted storyteller. And what were his stories about? Social reform,
Mm.
about poverty, about like, at the period we're at now at the end of Pluto and Capricorn. If you think about, the Ghost of Christmas Past and Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah. So, yeah. And then the other person who had Jupiter and Gemini was Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, Jupiter
Yeah.
and Gemini. So, I mean, come on.
See? Come
And
on.
then
Yeah.
another one which I thought was interesting, because Jupiter, of course, I didn't mention Jupiter, is significant for education. Maria Montessori, she was the founder of the Montessori teaching method that's
Yes.
used now in schools for,
Change school.
many
Yeah. She changed the
preschools.
school. Mhm.
Yeah, and it was such a practical life skills, child-centered approach, that had much more realistic expectations of children, and it was a lot less formal, than some of the stricter education, pre-education models we had. She had Jupiter and Gemini also. So what does this tell us about Jupiter and Gemini? That people who have this natally are great thinkers, great reformers, great, like people with great ideas. So we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss Jupiter and Gemini as a negative transit, which I know a lot of people, you know, have. And yes, of course, there is going to be negatives, but we can tap into this energy if we work with it, because it's the energy of ingenuity and being really clever. And finally, JF Kennedy, his speechwriter, John F. Kennedy, his
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
speechwriter
Yeah.
had Jupiter and Gemini, and his speeches were famous. But why
Yeah.
were they famous? Because he had somebody with Jupiter and Gemini writing his speeches. And Jasmina, you have a lot of Gemini placements.
Yes.
So I mean, Jupiter, you are going to have this Jupiter and Gemini, for the next whatever year and a half when this happens, and so it's going to like really transform the way you communicate as well, to the collective and to your followers. And personally speaking, in Placidus, I have Jupiter in the third house, so I
Mm-hmm.
I, I kind of am an honorary Jupiter in Gemini, even though my Jupiter is in Pisces, and I have always been really scattered. I've always had loads of ideas. I've always been multi passionate. And it's been very hard for me at times to kind of um, kind of
Narrow it
concentrate my
down.
ideas.
Yeah, narrow it down. Yeah. No,
Yeah. So I
I
mean,
love
there's
your
challenges
example.
with it.
Yeah, I love your examples. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I just want to say hi to Misbehaving and Kiara who are here. Thank you, ladies, and everybody who's watching. Um, I'm thinking about Jupiter in Gemini in general. It can be just watch out for false news. Why? Or gossip, a lot of gossip, a lot of stuff like that. Because he likes to make it over the top. So the stories are going to be like a little bit of just to make it
100%.
interesting. So just watch out for that in general. All the news, take with a little bit of discernment with listening to the news, and when Jupiter is in Gemini, because he's gonna
Yeah.
go big, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I when I tell stories, I have Venus and Leo. I'm very dramatic. I love to add little bits in and for drama. But Jupiter and Gemini, the story grows arms, legs, feet, toes, a nose. The story will expand. You're not going to get just the facts with Jupiter and Gemini. You will get lots of kind of gossip and other bits. So, like
Yeah.
you said, it's the energy of discernment because we are moving to a more online society, online presence.
Yes.
There's so many words online. You even see Instagram now, the Threads app. It's so Gemini, all words. Twitter, Gemini. Even all of these comments we get here, these are all things ruled by Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini, we can expect all of this. There's going to be a lot of talking,
It's gonna
and
be yeah, it's gonna be a big shift because we were all in our bodies, in nature, in our senses, and all of a sudden we're gonna go in our mind. So we're gonna detach
mm,
from body, from physical world, and go in our mind. So it's going to be all about our mind. So I do expect maybe some changes in education system, at least starting something new. As you mentioned, like Montessori lady, she already had that. So I do expect, and with Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus coming in Gemini in a few years, a lot of things are going to happen. This is like a beginning. I feel like a seed of some changes. Maybe schools will switch online completely. Maybe there won't be any schools.
yeah,
I mean,
more
I know you're a
options.
teacher as well. How that gonna work?
Yeah,
But I
well,
think it's a
even
lot of people.
I know we haven't talked about the Jupiter Uranus conjunction. I actually loved online learning personally. I do love
See,
face to face learning. But, I am a Cancerian. I'm a home bird. I loved working from home. It really suited me. But like, even if we think about the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, I know we haven't got onto that yet, but I mean, that's going to be in Taurus. I mean, you mentioned education. Jupiter, is all things education. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if we saw more outdoor schools, more forest schools, more, schools returning to teaching children about the land, teaching children, more outdoors things to connect with their ancestral knowledge, to
yeah,
bring in
yeah,
more locals to share wisdom rather than history being taught from the books, bring in people who have lived through the history. Education, is always, we always need to be reforming education.
yeah. Because it's just I know Gemini loves data, so Gemini loves to collect data, network. So think about it on a bigger scale. So much information, you're going to be overwhelmed with.
Mm.
Uh, I'm thinking, maybe in schools we also maybe kids are going to be overwhelmed with information. Everybody has access to internet these days. All the kids, so they're all this. So maybe
Mm.
this is like a start of something new. I'm just putting out there.
Yeah, hopefully.
Misbehaving is asking, is it a good idea to look at Gemini placements in our charts to see how Jupiter and Gemini will affect us individually?
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Look, first of all, look to the house where you have Gemini, and that's where you can expect some, positivity, put simply, coming into your life. But then we also have to bear in mind that Saturn is going to be up in the mix, so we're not going to be getting too carried away, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, he's coming. Yeah, he's going to square Jupiter hard aspect 3 times because he's going to go retrograde, right? So,
Yeah,
so it's going
yeah.
to be end of the year. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
fall, right? So the first hit is I
Mm-hmm.
think
So
summer.
the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, I wrote down for this, Jasmina, the Big
Please.
Bang Theory. I'm calling this the Big Bang Theory. It's at 21 degrees Taurus. And what
Yes.
I think interesting is about the 20. Now, I heard somebody say it's at the 22nd degree, but like by my calculations, it's 21 when I checked. 21 degrees is actually a Jupiterian Sagittarius degree. So it's interesting you mentioned education. And if we look at this event, we can look back to you know, Saturn and Jupiter came together at this degree in Taurus back in, God, was it 2000, 2020? I forget the actual dates. I'm not good with dates. Your
Okay.
viewers will have to forgive
I didn't
me.
look
This
into it.
is the scattered Jupiter in my third
It's
house
okay.
now.
It's okay.
But there was a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, and so something happened at that point. That's kind of this same degree is getting activated again, basically, is what I'm saying, for this Jupiter Uranus conjunction. And Mars in Pisces is going to be sextiling this. There's a 1 degree orb. There's going to be a Virgo moon trining this event. And this is happening right before a full moon in Scorpio. And there's also going to be a trine from Black Moon Lilith, 1 degree orb. And Black Moon Lilith is opposing Mars. So I know I'm throwing loads of facts out here, but just Mars and Virgo are going to both be at 22 degrees, which are Capricorn degrees. And anybody that practices degree theory, those aren't really the nicest degrees. They
Mm-hmm.
can indicate violence. So it's happening on a Sunday, I believe, maybe America, Canada, maybe like Monday night, it's happening in the middle of night, Irish time. I think it's more significant stateside.
Yeah. It's gonna
It,
be in Canada. It's gonna be 11 o'clock at night on the 20th. So
mm-hmm,
I'm gonna
mm-hmm.
feel this energy. 5 days before, 5 days after. It's very strong.
And we do know, if we look to the past, the Jupiter Uranus conjunctions happened around the same time as revolutions and protests and shocking events. So when Jupiter and Uranus conjunct again, one thing we could expect is possibly like a mobilization of people suddenly, like a gathering, whether it's online or in person. And they could be protesting something, because Uranus can be the energy of revolt. So it's just important that, if I guess, because Black Moon Lilith is opposing Mars and Mars is sextiling this, I do think people should be wary of this state from the point of view that I'm saying this, in several of my lives I've done so far, that I don't advocate for protesting in 2024. Stay at home. Peaceful protests are great, but, and this is the big but, the nodes of destiny are in Aries, okay?
Yeah.
And
And
we can assemble as people to protest something peacefully in a group, okay, with the best intentions. But when the nodes of destiny are in Aries, the god of war, it only takes one person to create some violence, to start something, to throw a brick, to one person. That's all you need. Aries does things on their own, so
Yeah, yeah.
things can change. It can be really reactive energy.
Yes, and with Uranus, you never know. Uranus can go this way or that way. That's why he's
Yes.
unexpected, planet of unexpected events. So
Yeah. So exactly, shocking
yeah,
events.
yes, and Jupiter is over the top, and he's going out of proportion. So this can go very well, or this can go very bad. So
And
you can't say
it
it.
can have multiple things as well. That's just one, I suppose. Revolution and protests and possible violence are one.
Earthquakes, earthquakes,
Earthquakes
because
is another thing.
it's a
We can
Taurus.
also see, like we discussed earlier, a revolution in education, a revolution in the way we grow our food. There could be a revolution to our money, because Taurus rules money. So there could be a move towards a cashless society. And of course, if there is a move towards, one world currency or cashless society or digital currency, people might resist this, rightfully so. If people resist this, which they're entitled to do so, there could be a little bit of revolt. There could be some energy, but something is being revolutionized, and
Yeah,
it's really very fated. Uranus is fated, and it's beyond our control. So this is the energy of sitting back, for me anyway, because it's going to be in Taurus. Sit back and and watch what happens, and stay at home and watch the protest from the comfort of your home, to be safe, because it's coming up to, it's right before a full moon in Scorpio, which I don't like,
But
that moon
it
is.
is about money as well. So people, some people say you might win lottery and stuff like that because Uranus can give you because in Taurus.
Yes, yes. I've heard people say that about winning the lottery. Yes, I have heard people say that. But the thing is, what are we winning? This is the thing. With Uranus, we don't know. It's like the life is like a box of chocolates. You just don't know.
It
Forrest
does,
Gump.
it does, because Jupiter is there as a good thing, kind of, let's say. So I think these conjunctions will give us a little bit of push to dare more, to go, because
Yeah.
to go and break free, because
Oh,
Uranus wants to break free.
100%.
Yeah, so we were gonna get a push. So on your personal level, whenever this, which house is it, give yourself a little bit of dare. I dare, and just go outside of the box, around
Yeah.
that time, and do something
Like
new and exciting. Just
for
because,
me personally, Jasmina, it's happening in my sixth house. And, I'm expecting, some kind of something to be revolutionized maybe in my work life, or some big pivotal change, or maybe a big turning point, or I'll have a big breakthrough, or some shocking event that I'm not expecting
but
happening.
I know, but it can also be, for example, about some, because it's about diet and everyday habits. You can just do something new and exciting in every day, and put
Hmm.
something exciting in your everyday life, and have this little, or try new diets and try new food. Something, Uranus will prompt you to do. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know.
And
I'm just
because it's
thinking.
in Taurus, I guess everyone personally should probably be looking at Venus in their chart as well, to
Yes,
see
yes,
where this is going to be playing out.
yeah, yes,
But it's going to be very interesting. And like,
yes.
we are going to be positive about it, but we're not going to be toxically positive, because,
Yeah, yeah. No, we're not gonna
we've
be
seen the
over.
charts. But I mean, it's definitely, there's some pivotal. I mean, it is probably after Pluto and Aquarius, this is probably the biggest celestial event of the year, this Jupiter Uranus conjunction.
Yeah.
And there's some big change coming, and I do think it might be resisted, but like, I wouldn't say it would be wise to resist it too much, because I think this change is inevitable, whatever is coming with this Jupiter Uranus conjunction.
And
And the energy of
yeah.
protesting is great, but just remember that protests during the North Nodes in Aries are difficult to control. We saw that in Ireland. There was a little
Mm.
peaceful protest, and it turned into rioting really quickly. People were shocked. The astrologers were not shocked. We know when the nodes are in Aries, violence erupts very quickly, and it only takes one or two individuals for it to happen.
Yeah, overall, yeah, that's a possibility as well. But I know that Jupiter is also making some great aspects while he's still in Taurus. He will
Hmm.
sextile Neptune and Saturn, so it will give us opportunities to kind of ground ourselves, and make our material surroundings, to grounded and prepared for this Jupiter and Gemini, when we're going to go into our mind. So we are having some support to prepare our material surroundings, and make everything in place, for long term things. And then we're going to be more into our minds and having new ideas, but preparing because we won't be so focused on our body, as I said, on the manifesting, and on the real world around ourselves, right?
Yes,
Uh,
and actually, I forgot to add that the Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus could see the birth of many entrepreneurs. People suddenly coming out with new innovative ways to
yes,
make money. Innovative startups is what I would call it.
I
But
heard, yeah, I
even
heard.
like food companies or things like that, anything the Taurus rules, anything natural, people are going to want this, because we have to remember there's going to be an awful lot of air in the sky next year with Pluto and Aquarius, and when Jupiter moves into Gemini, and people are going to be
Mm.
seeking Earth energy. They're going to be looking for this grounded Earth energy. So any startups with anything quite tangible and earthy, I think, could be hugely successful.
Yeah, like futuristic ideas regarding how we uh, do food, like gardens. I know there's this talk about vertical gardens are coming in more
Yes.
and more, like a new things like that. That's very exciting. So,
Yeah, that would be amazing. And as you say, there is a lovely sextile, isn't there, between Jupiter and Neptune on the 23rd of May. It's at 29 degrees of Taurus,
Mhm.
and Neptune is going to be at 29 degrees of Pisces. And it's happening around a full moon in Sagittarius. You know,
Very
so
good for for imagination to go in for your dreams and your fantasy to see where you're heading, kind of
yeah.
I
And as
love that.
I think with Jupiter sextiling Neptune, we will definitely be dreaming big.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the only thing we need to watch out for is maybe like getting carried away with our dreams with Neptune there. But I think Taurus is that energy of like grounding us down and
Yes.
saying, come on, be realistic, be pragmatic. Um, the full moon is going to be opposing Venus in Taurus, and Jupiter in Taurus. And around that event, um, for me, it definitely screams something to do with money. I do think there's going to be big
Mm.
shakeups financially, just in terms of mundane astrology next year. There is something happening to the economy next year. I would like, not to scare people, but I would say live frugally next year. Don't get carried away, because the economy, the stock markets, everything just seems
Yeah.
volatile.
Yeah. Especially with Uranus conjunction with Jupiter. Uranus rules the
Mm.
stock markets. It can go other way, so you can lose a lot of money. You can gain, but you can also lose. You have to be very careful. If you're
Yeah.
investor, if you're an investor, just be cautious because
And
it
what's
can.
lovely about that event on the 23rd of May, Jasmina, is that Jupiter is ruling that full moon in Sagittarius. You know,
It's a lovely one. Yeah.
yeah, and like 29 degrees though, of course, is, an anoretic critical degree. So for me, it speaks of some cycle being complete,
Yes, it's wrapping up. It's
something,
wrapping up this Jupiter
something.
and Taurus energy, right?
Yeah, 100%. And Pluto is going to be sextiling this moon exact. Neptune is trining the sun, I think. So like, even though like Neptune is involved here, Jupiter and Pluto are calling the shots with this Jupiter Neptune kind of little conversation. I feel that Jupiter is going to be more dominant, and Pluto on the 23rd of May. And then on the 26th, I think Jupiter ingresses into Gemini, and it's kind of separating away then from Neptune. Um,
Yes.
so
And
it's like
yeah,
the story
yeah.
is complete. There's a new story beginning.
Overall, I do feel that Jupiter is making a lot of great aspects this year. So
Hmm.
use the opportunities, but wisely, because Jupiter is also a wisdom. So
Yeah, and not to waste it, especially while Jupiter is direct. We should be making the most of this energy.
yeah. Misbehaving is she's saying my Gemini's eighth house quite transformative. Yes, Jupiter going through her eighth house, it can be a great opportunity to actually learn some psychology and digging deep about understanding
Hmm.
yourself on a deeper level. Jupiter is a teacher. It's a one who likes to explore, so you can explore the psychological side.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I mean, it's a lovely time when Jupiter is going through your eighth house. I mean, you can often get unexpected inheritance, or money can come into your lap
from
quite
other people,
easily.
yeah.
Yeah, other people's money, gifts, unexpected gifts,
It's actually
unexpected
beneficial.
abundance.
Yeah, it's beneficial if you want to get a credit line or a mortgage
Hmm.
or something like that from other financial institutions. They can be like a very good interest rate or something in that sense.
Yeah, and a Jupiterian type person could enter her life that is going to really help her unearth any deep seated wounds or trauma or
Yes.
anything she feels
Yeah.
called to work through at this time. It will be a
Mm.
lovely time, if she felt called to work on anything like that, or she could meet like a healer or a teacher of esoteric wisdom or knowledge.
Yes.
It would be like a
Yes.
really lovely
Like a
time to get
mentor.
a reading,
Yeah.
actually, to get an astrological reading, or I don't
Absolutely.
know, maybe a tarot reading, or go to a
This would be
Reiki
great, she
master.
says.
Yeah, yeah,
She
exactly. And
says this would
actually,
be.
it would be very interesting if she told us where her Mercury is, because Mercury is ruling
It's
that
ruling,
Gemini
yes.
house.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so the next thing is the trine, I guess, that Jupiter is making to Pluto on the June
Yes.
2nd,
I mean,
Jasmina.
before you start, I just want to say in the descriptions, guys, I put all the dates with all the transits, so you can just follow. You can just go and refer later in the description and see what we were talking about. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the trine
so
Pluto Jupiter. Jupiter Pluto trine is something I'm so looking forward, because it's just the day before my birthday, so it's going to affect my solar return and everything. It's happening right in the second
Oh,
and the
amazing.
3rd of June. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just very excited about that one.
Ooh.
And it's near my moon. I think it's what degree are they? Yeah, they're meeting in the first degree.
So you're going to be Sun trine Pluto next year, personality.
Yes.
You're going to be just like me because I have
No,
this
no, I'm gonna
lately.
be Jupiter trine. Jupiter
Oh,
trine Pluto.
Jupiter trine Pluto. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So,
so but Jupiter isn't near your sun on the day of the birthday, so
sorry.
Jupiter isn't near your sun on the day of your birthday.
Uh, yes, yes.
It
It
is.
is.
It's going to
No,
be
so
sun conjunct Jupiter.
no,
What degree
so
of Gemini are you again, Jasmina?
no. It's gonna be near my moon and Mercury second degree.
Ah, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's gonna be near
Lovely,
my
lovely.
moon and Mercury, but it's gonna
So
go on
I
my.
have good news for you. You're going to be really pleased to hear that the 20th of January, you're going to get a preview of your birthday because when Pluto, enters into like Aquarius, we're getting a preview of this Aquarius energy because you know Jupiter trine Pluto on June the 2nd. Jupiter's at 1 degree of Gemini.
Yeah,
Pluto's retrograding at 1 degree of Aquarius. So it's going back to what was triggered back, in January, February when Pluto entered
yeah.
Aquarius. So we need to really pay attention now, the end of January, start of February, and see what Pluto is stirring up because that's giving us an advanced preview. It's like the trailer for what's going to be happening again when Pluto retrogrades in June.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm.
Just reply to misbehaving. She said she has Mercury in Scorpio in the first house. So everything that you said about
Ooh.
occult and getting a reading is absolutely spot on.
Amazing. That's an amazing placement to have for astrology and for diving deep and for intense
Absolutely.
communication. And with Jupiter there, it's really, I think it's going to be very transformative energy on a personal
Yes,
level for her, you know?
absolutely. As I said,
Um,
I love it.
it's going to bring lots of lovely people
Spooky.
into her life, her tribe. It's a time for meeting her tribe.
Yeah, she
So,
said.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Jupiter, Pluto trine.
Yeah, so I think that because Jupiter is trining Pluto this time, it's going to be easier than, when Pluto, I haven't actually looked that deeply at the Pluto ingress, but I'm pretty sure there isn't a trine from Jupiter anyway, we know that. So this means the energy is going to be softer this time. So when Pluto retrogrades, so if there was any kind of revolutionary energy or changes coming with Pluto and Aquarius, Jupiter is softening them this time because this is lovely trine. It's like this helpful energy. So it's the energy of communication and discussion and ideas and kind of openness and
It's
this
about community.
expansiveness.
Yeah, it's about community and networking. So it's going to be a lot of, you can start some kind of a group or
Oh no,
join
we're
the
losing
group or
you.
something that will transform your life in that sense, because they're both very social signs, right? And Aquarius, as
Yeah,
they say, they love humanity, not humans. That's, somebody said it. That's funny. But
that
but
is
in general,
brilliant. I love that for Aquarius.
but in,
Yeah, so if there's a revolution online or if there's groups
yeah,
forming, Jupiter and Gemini is like the helicopter energy that's coming in and it's like, okay, everyone, like, and then what is really nice is that like Pluto, if you think of Jupiter being the helicopter energy of ideas and discussion, Pluto is like the Top Gun fighter pilot jet. It's so concentrated. It's like,
yeah,
right, let's
yeah,
focus this energy. Because
yeah.
Pluto, it
It's
has
also
that scorpionic concentration, this intense, this laser-like vision. So this helicopter that's going all over the place is a bit chaotic. Pluto is actually going to work with Jupiter and Gemini to kind of, I wouldn't say ground it, but to make it a bit more focused, a bit more kind of logical, maybe a bit more kind of intellectual. Jupiter, like Gemini, is very logical, but Aquarius, I always feel, is more of the intellectual kind of energy. You know what I mean? Even
it's
though
gonna
people
be
might say, "What's the difference between intellectual and logical?" There is a very subtle difference, in the air signs.
Yeah, because as I said, Gemini is more about collecting data and
Mm-hmm.
networking and connecting people and information, and Aquarius actually, they think about what can we do with this information to
Yeah.
make the community better. And
It's
it's
like
also
the
about
energy of a scientist. So you have a data
yes,
collector. He's got all this data. It's
yes,
all in boxes.
yes.
It's all over the place. And then a scientist comes in and he's like, okay, let's put this data on a chart.
Yeah. So kind of thinking more, in the sense of how can we use this data, especially to help environment, community, on a larger scale. How can we make this world a better place? That's what Aquarius is all about. How can we use this data to make the world?
100%. And like one
Yeah.
thing I will say, because with Jupiter in Gemini, Jupiter is just at the start of Gemini. It's at 1 degree of Gemini. So it's just, it's just in its infancy. And then Pluto is retrograding at 1 degree of Aquarius. So one planet is going forward and one planet is retracing its steps. What we have here as well at this ingress is we've got Chiron, we've got the moon, and we've got Mars all in Aries. So you're going to be in Aries moon next year, Jasmina. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. So, I mean, when you have Chiron moon and Mars conjunct the moon in Aries,
Hmm.
I am calling June the 2nd Stay Off Twitter Day.
Yeah. It's gonna
Don't
be.
fight with anyone online. And I think people need to be wary that, like, with all of this air energy, there's going to be lots of talking, lots of people. Um, people can talk the talk, very big online, but there isn't much substance behind it a lot of the time. So there could be a little bit of like the energy of a war of words online. So I just don't like all of that Aries energy for the ingress. I just don't think it's helpful. But Pluto is going backwards. It's not direct, so that should soften it a little bit. And Jupiter and Gemini, you're hoping it's the energy of let's open up discussion, let's actually talk, rather than fight. But of course, it depends if people are operating in the higher octave or the lower octave of this energy.
It can be about revolution, as you said, is about revolutionary ideas around that revolutionary, things that are going to change. It's like a seed. We won't even see the effects now, right? So these are
Yeah.
things that are happening. Pluto is also behind the scenes, right? So we might not know
Yeah.
what's happening, and then, but on our personal levels, it is going to be like blow your kind of mind in a sense, right? Blow your mind,
Yeah.
like woo, mind blowing, right? I think that's
Yeah.
that's the word for this,
Yeah, definitely. It could trigger like deep inner transformation, you know, um, especially in regards to the way you think about things, the way you speak, the way you assert yourself. Chiron in Aries is really teaching us, healthy, how to assert ourselves in a healthy way. But sometimes we have to learn that, through the opposite way, through saying things rashly, maybe, or things coming out wrong. And Jupiter and Gemini, can really be hasty in speech. So that's just something we need to be mindful of at that time.
that's gonna be good. Yeah. So the only thing, so everything is good with Jupiter so far, more or less. Like just you have to always watch for overdoing it, overindulging, in Taurus, overindulging, overspending, and in Gemini, overthinking. We forgot about that. Um, over analyzing, over blah, blah, blah. So
Hmm.
always be cautious with Jupiter not to overdo it, whatever it is. So keep it a
Yeah.
little bit, in check, and it's going to be good. And I like with Jupiter, because Jupiter likes it all. So think about quality, not quantity with Jupiter, and then you're going to gain. That's how I
Yes.
feel it. Because if
Yes.
you say I want it all, then you're going to be, oh, I have to do all the ideas. No, Jupiter and Gemini, take one good idea or two,
Mhm.
and then pursue them. Because
Yeah.
so think about quality, not quantity. With Jupiter, whatever.
And Jupiter and
Um,
Gemini can often be guilty of starting lots of things and not finishing a lot of them.
yes, yes, and then as you said, it's very good time for traveling, uh,
It's a really good
especially
time for talking, for
yeah.
chatting rather than actually doing tangible things. It's a really good time for chatting, and discussing ideas rather than implementing them all, I would say.
I just want to say to misbehaving, you're not chatting too much. We love when you interact. We love your ideas. This is what we do for you. We do
Yeah,
this live for
exactly.
you guys. So please. So she says, I'm probably chatting too much, but I currently have my Chiron return in Aries and was planning to write about my unusual early life. That is perfect.
Yeah.
That is
And I
perfect.
mean, what the thing is, as astrologers, how do we learn? We learn from interacting with clients and with followers
Oh
about
yeah.
their placements.
But I'm thinking,
You'll testify to this, Jasmina. The more
yeah,
charts you
absolutely.
read, the better you get.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every new chart is like, oh my god, like it's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. This is
Yeah,
how. And then
yeah.
I get excited for every new chart that I see. Oh my god,
Every
the
chart is a
potential.
case study, in the
Yes,
sign that you're, and that's why it's so interesting to look at people like Audrey Hepburn or Charles Dickens. All of these different energies we're
yeah,
talking about. Like, it's so easy to dismiss a sign and say, oh, this is exalted, this is exiled, this is good, this is bad. But that is really fatalistic language, and
yeah. I don't
we
like that.
do the signs a disservice. Because Jupiter
Mm,
in Gemini, maybe it was in exile back, during, when astrology was first discovered. But in the Aquarian age we're entering, Jupiter and Gemini, for all we know, could be pretty, a really good
yeah,
placement. So, we need to be nuanced about our astrology as well.
and always think about what happened 12 years before. So when
Mm.
last time Jupiter was in Gemini, that was 2011.
You're asking the wrong
I don't
girl
know.
because I'm
I didn't
not good
check
at,
this.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So,
2011.
so think about the themes, what happened then, and then maybe you can go back and maybe it
Mm.
didn't work out now, then it can work out now, or stuff like that. So always think about, because we are living in cycles. Astrology is just living. The cycles are repeating in some sense in that way.
Yes.
So
And
I know
like,
that Jupiter, sorry, Gemini can lose the big picture, but we had this new moon now in Sagittarius that was in December. This is where you got the big picture. Then you have Jupiter while he's still in Taurus, sexiling Neptune, as you said. That's where you get a dream, a big picture. And that way you have it, then you can have this Jupiter and Gemini to think it through and
mhm.
in more details. Let's say so.
Yeah. And
It's
it's
not.
really the energy as well, Jasmina, of, Jupiter and Gemini. We have a saying in Ireland that you throw a lot of, I'm not going to say the word, at the wall and see what sticks. I'll be kicked off YouTube. But, if you throw all these ideas at the wall, this is the energy of Jupiter and Gemini. It's the energy of having a vision board, or having, like,
Yes.
a big collage of all your ideas. You don't necessarily have to carry them all out. You definitely are going to be distracted. When Jupiter is in Gemini, your ideas, you're going to be distracted. It's going to be harder to focus, especially if it's affecting
Mhm.
you your own
Yeah.
birth chart.
Sure.
So if you're in this helicopter, it's very noisy. And it will be hard to be focused on one thing. So you might have to have a few little projects, I would say, or you might take a few little workshops. But this
Mm.
isn't the energy for doing a PhD and focusing on one thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
This
yeah.
will be hard during Jupiter and Gemini.
I
It's
like
not
that.
going to be
Little,
impossible,
yes.
but it's
A
going to be
little
hard.
workshops here and there, and just to open up your mind and to satisfy your curiosity, because Gemini is
Yeah.
curious. That's
And
so
as
you kind of.
astrologers, we probably, to I mean, just to benefit from this energy, if we ran little workshops,
Yes.
things that people don't have to commit to. Because let's remember, Gemini,
Mhm.
it's not that they can't commit, it's that they shouldn't have to commit because they're meant to flit around to different things. So it's the
I
non-committal
second that.
energy of workshops. Workshops are nice because you
Yeah.
do them once and then you're done, one and done. This suits Gemini energy. Whereas,
Yes.
if
Yes. That's
somebody's
good.
asking you commit to this class, you need to come every week for 6 months. That's not going to fly with Jupiter and Gemini.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that idea. That little one. That's a very good one.
You go on the helicopter ride once, once in a
Woo!
lifetime.
I'm
Then you're like,
experienced
okay, I'm
that.
done.
Awesome. So okay. So let's kind of wrap it up with the Jupiter square Saturn situation.
Okay.
So
Yes, Jupiter square Saturn. So, okay, this is going to happen twice. So, we have to understand this.
yeah, and the third time is going to be in 2025. So because of the retrograde motion. So usually, I just a little tip when planets go retrograde. So first time they meet directly, this is something like a eye opener. There's a new thing coming. Like what is happening? Then
Mm-hmm.
when the planet goes direct, retrograde, and they meet again, it's like a revision of of that idea you had when they met for the first time and they went direct. And then the third time, second time direct, is like finishing up. So that's think about that. Think about having a longer period of time of finishing, of starting something and finishing it in a more precise and more in the way that you can see the results, right? Because you have an option. Because sometimes uh, transit comes and then it's so fast you didn't have time to even think about it. This way, I love retrogrades because they give us the opportunity to actually clarify things, put it in a more sense to it, and then we can have better results at the end because we have more time. Because this is what retrograde does, give us time.
Mm-hmm. So Jupiter is going to be squaring Saturn on August 19th and December 24th. And we need to remember this in context of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction back in December 2020 during the height of COVID. Okay.
Mm.
So Jupiter was at 0 degrees of Aquarius then. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have to remember as well that when Jupiter was at 0 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto is coming up to 0 degrees of Aquarius.
on the 21st of January.
So, what did we get? Just in a nutshell, we got remote working. Our work lives, the online world expanded, and we're having all these conversations online.
Yeah,
Before I might have had to fly to Canada to a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
conference to meet you. Now we can have our online conferences. Remote working was the big gift, I think, of that Jupiter Saturn conjunction. Just the
And
remote
education, as you
communication.
mentioned, and education, we are now all these schools gave us opportunity to have classes online. That was not possible before. If you wanted to
Yes,
do,
and even learning astrology more online,
yes,
everything.
exactly.
So like the first square is actually the first Jupiter Saturn square is a T square, I believe. With Venus involved. So like what I do find with Jupiter and Gemini is that we can get a bit carried away, but Saturn is the energy of crystallizing things. So, if we have gotten carried away, Saturn will give us a little less in our wake up call then perhaps. And the T square with Venus really speaks to me about money, again.
Mm.
Money is big this year in terms of there's something going on with the economy. It's really reflected in all of the astrology this year. So the first square with Jupiter and Saturn, there is something coming, and I do think it's something money related, but I could be wrong. Perhaps
It's
it's
a
something
mutable
to do with
energy. With
yeah.
Gemini and Pisces, it's very mutable energy. It's not like they're squaring in Taurus, and you would kind of know it's very.
Hmm.
This can go either way. Like a
Hmm.
fish swim in both directions. Gemini's go two ways, just because. So, but I do feel that this after we talked about everything, that the Jupiter is going to be too much at the beginning of the year, and then and with Pluto and everything, and then the Saturn comes. Okay, now you have to get yourself in check. Kind of
Yes.
it kind of gives you some kind of focus and concentration. And okay, now you have all this idea. You're overthinking. You're doing this. You're doing that. Okay, let's now try to figure this out. Um, in that sense. So depending on which house is this transit coming, which houses
Hmm.
are affected. Um, uh, those are going to be the themes where you need to kind of think things through, revise them, and make more sense out of them. So
Yeah, and like Venus and Virgo is going to be opposing Mars, which will be conjunct Jupiter. And Saturn, as you said, will be retrograding, so it's retracing the
yeah.
steps. Mercury will be retrograde, so there's huge potential for miscommunication on the first Jupiter Saturn square. The Sun and Mercury retrograde are going to be squaring Uranus that day, so that's why I've wrote down shocks to do with money and the stock markets, shock statements, and shock outbursts. Sun and Mercury in Leo, squaring Uranus, drama. Leo energy is going to bring the drama. So I do think that's going to be a dramatic square, the first one. And then the second square, Saturn is direct. but Jupiter is retrograde. So on the
Yes.
24th of December, we've got Saturn, moving forward. Saturn is grounding us and crystallizing things, but Jupiter is retracing its steps. Jupiter is going back because Jupiter in Gemini is the king of skipping steps, the king of not finishing things or not bringing them to completion. So it's like they've switched, it's the role reversal. This time Saturn's direct, this time Jupiter, is retrograde. So it's like Jupiter is rowing back, and there's like a T square there with Mercury on the 24th of December. And I actually discussed this on my other live about the astrology of 2024. And even Matt said, at Christmas next year, don't discuss politics at the table.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said a lot will have happened in 2024, a lot of chaos, a lot of, we can already assume, Jasmina, there's going to be a lot of political upheaval, a lot of financial upheaval in the world. There will have been a
Oh
lot of
yes.
events.
Oh yes.
And with all of this Jupiter Uranus energy, and with the nodes of Destiny in Aries, and with Pluto in Aquarius. So it's the energy of, when you're with family at Christmas, maybe just say, you know what, we won't discuss politics this Christmas, or we won't discuss
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jupiter is about belief systems, right? And then,
Mm-hmm.
and this Jupiter is going to rule this Saturn in Pisces, right? So they're going to have this connection, like a mutual kind of, but there's some kind
Yeah.
of a connection, right? And it is, Pisces is also about, our higher, a connection with connection with the divine, and Jupiter is that. So think about, this is going to be a theme maybe in your lives. What do I
Yeah.
believe in? What is, where do I look at? Where do I find that divinity? What does that mean for me? Revising our belief systems is going to be strong next year.
Yeah, 100%. Like as you say, politics, religion, the economy, those things, COVID, vaccines, all divisive
Like
issues.
strong
And try to
opinions,
keep them off the
Yeah.
table, maybe at Christmas, because there is Mars is going to be opposing Pluto and Aquarius, and Pluto and Aquarius will be direct. So I mean, Pluto and Aquarius will have brought in massive change in 2024, and by Christmas 2024 the world is going to be different in some way,
Yes.
shape or form. We can speculate about how that will be, but when we gather together for the holidays, we can be sure that we'll all have strong opinions. This is fixed energy, Aquarius energy. And if Mars is
Yes.
opposite Pluto, this is the energy of like, we're not all going to be agreeing with some of the changes. Some of us will be resisting them. And with Pluto, even though yes, it's like we shouldn't take things lying down, but with Pluto, I always say it's the energy of jump or be pushed. It's like, oh, it's like get with the program, or I'm going to force it upon you anyway. This is often the energy with Pluto. Things are forced upon us that are for our ultimate benefit, even though we might not particularly like them at the time. So resistance, even though it's admirable, I don't know if it's advisable, in 2024.
Yes, it's a lot of things are gonna, it's gonna, the speed, like I'm thinking about, we had this slow Taurus energy, and Pisces, we had all this receptive energy, slow motion, and I think it's all going to speed up, guys, with Jupiter and Pluto and everything. So I think this Saturn square with Jupiter is going to help us actually kind of reset, because we're going to need
Yeah.
that. Because
We
we're going to be,
are.
right.
It's
It's
going to
going to be
be an
like,
exhausting year.
yeah, and like mentally exhausting, because we're going to have it. Imagine Jupiter wants it. He wants it. He wants to go and explore and do it. So think, having all this in your mind, you will want to manifest everything, but you won't be able to. So as I
Hmm.
said, you have to choose wisely and prioritize, strategize. That will
Yeah.
help you kind
And
of.
even though I know we're not discussing Mars, but it is a very Martian year. Everybody's discussing Pluto and discussing, Saturn and Jupiter, but Mars is very prominent next year in all of the celestial events,
Yes. So
stirring up a lot
yeah,
of trouble. So we can't kind of ignore that either. And
yeah.
as you
Yeah.
say, we should
Now that you
enjoy this
mentioned,
Jupiter and Taurus time.
yeah, now that you mentioned, I'm gonna have Mars talk with Caleb on
Yes,
Saturday. So guys,
that
if you
should be
can join us,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna talk about Mars in the 2024 thing. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, this was really interesting, Katrina. Thank you very much. And do you want to add anything for the end? I think we gave a lot of insights, a lot of
Um,
interesting things to think about.
no, I think the most important thing is, I suppose, for people to connect with their own birth charts, because obviously when we discuss the synergy, we're discussing mundane astrology,
Yeah,
and like not to be reactive either to anything you watch online, because there is a lot of scaremongering, and some of the messages, depending on the mindset you're in, you could perceive them as really negative. There's a lot of fear energy in the collective about what's coming in 2024. But I mean, it's going to be different for all of us. And even, us mutables, Jasmina, we're
yeah,
excited for Jupiter and Gemini. But, we are going to be squared by Saturn, or opposed, or we're getting harsh Saturn transits a lot of the year
yeah,
anyway. So, I mean, it's not like we're going to get too carried away. It really depends. I suppose, look to where Taurus and Gemini are in your chart, and look to their rulers, and see what Saturn is up to too. And if you're feeling confident, go check out Pluto.
yeah. But now that you mentioned confidence, Jupiter can be overconfidence. It can be overly optimistic.
Hmm.
So it's good to get, with all this energy in your mind and stuff, it's good that you get yourself in check every now and then and ground
Yes.
yourself in any
And
way.
Saturn will keep us in check. We won't
Yes.
get carried away. This Jupiter and
Yeah.
Gemini. Saturn is working in harmony with Jupiter and Gemini. Uh, one astrologer said that Saturn is the bridge. I would love to credit this astrologer if I can remember. Saturn is the bridge between Jupiter and Uranus, because
Mm,
Jupiter is like expansion and Uranus is skyrocketing. I think it could have been Cosmic Navigator actually, but correct me if I'm wrong. But Saturn is the bridge, so we need that bridge.
yeah.
Even though we give out about Saturn, because he is a very grounding force in our lives, even when he's in Pisces.
I feel, yes, also, yeah. So this energy before May, it's about getting foundations and stability. And on that foundation that you build with your value systems, with the way, with your dreams, with your big ideas, then you can kind of utilize that from June onwards.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
and
and nobody should waste this amazing energy we have in January, this new moon in Capricorn, this
it's
Mars and
beautiful.
Capricorn energy. We need
It's
to
beautiful.
set a business plan, write down our goals, anything you want done, put it in motion in January. As in, like, write it down and take one little step towards it. That's all you have to do, one tangible step, because this energy this year, even Uranian Matt, astrologer Matt has said it, it's chaos for order. So
Yeah.
get your house in order before the chaos, of this helicopter and all the rest of it, because we need to stay grounded this year.
Yeah, it's a prelude to what's happening, because what's going to happen 2025, 2026, when the big changes are coming, guys. So this is like a seed. We don't we everything. This is now, it's a seed. So think about,
Hmm.
seed is still in the putting the seed in the soil, and then you're going to see it's going to grow fast. It's like going to be like a forward motion kind of a plant, when you
Yeah. And
that's
like
how it's going
I
to go.
was saying on my Instagram stories last night, if you're in the helicopter, you won't care. But if you're on the ground and you're getting knocked back and you're not ready for this transit, you are going to find this transit unpleasant, what's coming. But if you're ready and you work with the energy instead of
Yeah.
against it, if you don't resist it, if you
Yes.
keep abreast of the transits, like Jasmina gives her tips every day, you are in the best possible place to navigate 2024. And Jupiter is all about navigating. This is the big traveler of the zodiac, after all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it's a good year. It's always, all the years can be, they're not all perfect, but I feel that overall it's going to be a good year. And especially the from June onwards. I know it seems like, oh my god, Saturn squaring, but I think actually that's good, because there's lots of stuff. This is very productive spring. All the planets are going to go direct from end of January. We want to do things, right. And then we have eclipse, and then you have this and that, and then I think it's going to be wild. Okay, cool. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for everything, misbehaving, and for your insights. I love that. And for whoever is watching later, Please leave a comments below if you have any questions. We're here to answer. Thank you, Caitriona, so much. Again, I'm so excited. I always like to talk to
Thanks for
you.
having me, Jasmine. It's
We have
lovely.
a
I
big
love chatting
picture.
Jupiter. I could chat Jupiter all day long.
I know, all good. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Happy New Year, everybody. I forgot to mention, and all the best to you all. And we are here to serve you and help you anyway and guide you. So, yes, you can find us on our websites. So, mine is jasminabrosovicAstrology.com, and Caitriona, yours is Caitriona
CatriinaAstro.eu.
dot
I'll put
eu.
it in
There
the
you go.
comments. I'll put it in the comments.
Yes, awesome. I'm going to edit the description and put it there as well.
Hmm.
Awesome, guys. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.